could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
I still think you're magnificent.
But you're in two pieces, my dear.
I'm looking on the bright side. I saved over 15% on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
And I got you flour.
Oh.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Something wrong with that sound.
So I sound
Now
like...
it's fixed? What was it? What sound was going over there?
I have no idea.
Oh, now they can hear us.
hang on, folks. We are having a little technical difficulty.
Well, they can hear us on the radio. They just couldn't hear us on the video. So that means all morning long it was like that.
They're hearing something.
Probably. Wonder what they were hearing. Like, I can see the VU meter moving. Okay, so we were distracted there. So the heater is just as complex as the air conditioner.
Yeah, man. In certain aspects, it is. You know, like back in the day when you would take your little slide knob and go from cold to hot. There was just a little cable, and that cable was attached to a door, and
that's all it did.
That's all it did. Was
That's what I
move the
thought.
door back and forth.
You could even hear it. You could even hear it go,
Bloop.
Yeah, opening and closing.
Nowadays, it's all electric motors and all this kind of stuff. And now, a lot of the new cars, if the passenger wants it a little different temperature than the driver has, that requires more actuators, more doors.
So is this still true? That if your car is overheating and you put on the heater, it'll actually buy you some time. You can get to a garage.
Helps. It does help because you're dissipating some of the heat. You're allowing some of the heat to come out.
Well, I knew it was true when I was younger, but
it still is true even today. Yeah. That's if you're driving and your car's overheating, first thing to do, I don't care how hot it is outside, flip the heat on full boat.
I can remember as a young man going through a Burger King, McDonald's or something like that, and I'm sitting in the line in the middle of summer, and it is roasting out, and my needle is going into the hot. So then I put on the heaters, blasting full blast, and everybody, all my friends in the car go, "What are you doing?" I said, "The car's overheating. I got to release the heat somehow." And it was funny. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing because they couldn't handle it. But it was like the middle of July or whatever.
But did the needle come down a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it held it steady. It didn't really come down, but it didn't go into the danger zone. And then once I started driving, then it fixed it because
now you had air coming across something.
Yeah.
And here's another little tidbit, a little trivia tidbit thing you can keep under your hat. If let's say the gauge is going to the hot, and you turn the heater on and there's no hot air coming out. Okay. Then more than likely,
you have no water.
You have no water.
Okay. Hey, I figured one out.
There you go.
See, I've been driving a while. Have you invented anything?
Yeah, I've invented some tools and stuff that I've used.
Were you able to patent them and actually make a living from it?
I actually have some tools that have been submitted to Snap-on. And it's easier to, instead of me going through all the process,
sure, right.
Take it to a company and say, and so it's under review now.
So you could make money from it.
I could. They give you a percentage of the tool that's sold. Wow. I didn't do it necessarily to make a percentage of the money. I did it to help other guys out there that it's a tool that would be used greatly. What's
amazing to me is as long as cars have been made, we still find ways to improve them or at least change them. Every change isn't necessarily an improvement, but
but they are constantly. Cars change. It's kind of like, it's not as bad, but it is kind of like computers. You buy a computer today, 6 months from now, they're like, wow, you got that old computer. I bought it 6 months ago.
Right.
Cars are, a lot of times now when we go get parts, when I have to order parts for cars, and I have to give them the VIN number because depending on what number of car it is, the part was, we don't use that part no more. We use this part for that VIN number. Even though it's the same year, make, and model.
Wow.
There might be two different parts for the same year car because it was made prior to or after this. So like if you call, if you have a Chevrolet and you call Palm Chevrolet and you need a part from them, the first thing they're going to say is, what's the VIN number? So that they can look up the proper part for that car.
Right. We have a phone call. Good morning. You're on there with Matt.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Morning.
How important is it to replace a in-cabin microfilter? It's a Nissan Rogue. It's got 15,000 miles. It's basically driven in the city of Ocala. We're not on the dirt road, and the air is pretty clean. Do you think we could go longer than 15,000 on that microfilter?
Yeah, it's possible. What I would do is I would take it out and look at it. And if you have an air hose or a blowgun or something like that, you would be surprised how much dirt gets in those cabin air filters. So you just take it out and clean it.
Would a mechanic have to do it?
No, that's something that you can do. Look in your owner's manual; it'll show you right where it's at. And typically, they're right behind the glove box or maybe underneath the dash by the glove box, and it's usually just opening up a door and sliding it out.
Okay. I'll give it a try. Then I can maybe just blow it out if it's a little bit dusty.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess the manual is right to check it it says every 15,000 miles or 12 months. So it's, I would imagine if you lived in the country on a dusty road or something, it'd be a little more important to keep an eye on it,
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what gets caught in that cabin air filter. You really would be surprised.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll go check it out.
All righty.
What kind of things get stuck?
All kinds of things. I have found all kinds of things in them things.
Really?
Yeah.
Like anything living?
Well, they used to live. They used to live. And we just had one in Friday, and it was in a Pontiac, I believe it was. And I don't think these people even knew it had a cabin air filter. and we took this thing out, and it was like, oh my goodness. And one of the effects was the air wasn't blowing, it wasn't blowing strong out the vents.
Huh.
Well, we took the cabin air filter out, and it's you look at it, and well, you can understand why it's not blowing out.
Oh
the vents.
no, just
I mean,
clogged.
it was
huh?
just nasty.
So what was the purpose, if any, of the scoop in the hood that actually put air into the? I've always had a question about those things.
Some of it, a lot of them are just
looks.
decorative, but
it must have come from somewhere.
Well, back in the day, Pontiac, and that's the first one that comes to my mind is like an old Pontiac GTO,
Right.
And it had ram air, what they called ram air.
Is that the one that had the tachometer on the hood?
Yes, well, that was the Judge.
Okay.
It came with the tack on the hood, yeah. But they had ram air, and here's the whole philosophy behind ram air. It's drawing air from outside, not from underneath the hood. The air underneath the hood, the oxygen molecules are bigger because heat causes the molecules to expand.
Okay.
So if we can draw cooler air from outside, we have a denser amount of oxygen to mix with our fuel, so we can create more power.
Oh wow.
Does that make sense?
It does, but I never knew that. I always thought it was just about cooling, simple.
No, it wasn't really about keeping the engine cooler, because actually some of these performance guys, we don't want the engine cooler. We want the engine hotter. The hotter we can get the thing, the more power we can get from it. But we want cooler air coming in. And it's just like back in the mid '80s and stuff when Buick came out with the Grand National, and the turbos started coming out on the 3.8s and the 4.3s, and they had intercoolers. The drag racers up in Gainesville and stuff. I used to watch them. They'd pack the intercooler with dry ice.
Oh wow!
Just to really make that air going into the motor real dense, real tight.
See, I wouldn't have even. That's part of the science that doesn't even occur to me. So I have a question that's more about racing than it is about normal cars. There was a story last week about the Toyota company buying naming rights to one of the entrances over at the Daytona Speedway. And part of the naming rights is also they can be a pace car, I guess. Okay, so it's a foreign car on the Great American Race. Two questions. Is that the first time it's ever happened? And do you have any feelings about that? About the Great American Race having a pace car that's a foreign car?
Yeah, well, I got mixed emotions. Part of me looks at it as from a business decision, to be the pace car.
Is this the first time?
I would think it is,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
It sounded like the way the story read, but it didn't come out and say that.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Toyota has stepped up, and and they are participating in the NASCAR events. So would they not have the right to have the pace car? And I understand it's the Great American Race and all that, and but we allow them. I look at NASCAR as being the great every Sunday or Saturday night that they race. It's an American thing, but yet they've been competing in NASCAR for several years now, and because they compete, because they're out there, because they're doing all the things that NASCAR is requiring, would not give them the right to have a pace car. And then the other side of it is the money that they're bringing the sport and so the pace car
again. Every one of your listeners is going to hate me asking this because they don't need to know the answer. So I'm only asking for me. What the heck does a pace car actually do?
It paces.
So why?
Well, the pace car does. Have you been to a lot of races?
Oh no.
Okay.
But I mean, I was the guy who did all the races. Nobody wanted to do them on radio. What I mean, I did them. I worked this end of it.
Right. But
so I listened to them. I mean, I was probably the biggest listener of NASCAR in the city for a while.
Well, I mean, actually, the pace car is out there, and he's got a very important job. And the job that the pace car is doing is, you got to stop and think. You got, let's say, 43 guys out there on a NASCAR race that is all they want to do is go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But now, if there's a caution or the start of a race, these guys are wanting to go. These cars are capable of, especially at Daytona, they hit speeds up to 200 miles an hour.
Wow.
They want to go. And NASCAR, for safety reasons and whatnot, says, okay, listen, we're going to, until the green flag drops, we're going 60 miles an hour. So everybody's behind the pace car. The pace car is setting the pace of 60 miles an hour. Now, when a pace car peels off, the green flags drop, and they're ready to go. They hunker down, and racing starts. So they do have, and then if there's a crash or a caution, the pace car brings all these guys, all 43 of these guys, brings it back down to earth and says, okay, calm down for a minute.
Oh, I never knew that. Well, I thought it was only at the beginning.
No, every time that there's an accident, every time there's a flag, the pace car goes out and brings everybody back together. The pace car allows everybody to line up in the proper orders, keeps everybody at the same pace, so that now...
Did I share this with you? We had a guest on. He wrote about the very first NASCAR win. Daytona... very first Daytona 500 win, I think. It was debatable. That the guy who they gave it to was Lee Petty.
Okay.
And Lee Petty's wife was actually clocking him, and she kind of took off a lap. So he was really a lap behind the real winner. Did you ever hear that?
No, I never did.
Oh, gosh. I have to ask Robin what the name of that book was. It was a guest last week. Fascinating story, though. I mean, the guy knew his stuff. I would have loved to have had him on your show.
Yeah, that would be cool.
We have a phone call or two. Let's take those calls. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Good morning, Matt. This is Sonny calling in.
Hey, Sonny.
I used to be a pretty avid follower of NASCAR, and as we used to call it, stock car races. As far as Toyota being used as the pace car, I mean, what's the difference today? Years ago, the auto manufacturers used to manufacture a specific car, put it on sale. Even if they only sold one or two of them, it was a manufactured car. And then the race car was basically the same car, just outfitted with the safety devices and roll cage and whatever else, and ran. Today, you have Toyota. You can only get it with a front-wheel drive and the biggest engine in it, I think, is a V6. The same thing with the Ford Fusion. And yet, when they race at Daytona, they're all rear-wheel drive, and they all have big V8s in them. To me, so I have... and then the NASCAR regulations where they all have to have the same engine, and they all have to have the same this, that, and the other thing, and then they place restrictor plates on them. You know, hello, you want to run a clone race, fine, but I'm not interested in a clone. I'm interested in what these cars could do. So my idea of Daytona 500 would be to pit that Toyota Camry against a Ford Fusion or whatever, and see what happens there. You know, the way you could buy it. You can't buy these cars.
Oh no.
The way they're manufactured, they're basically one or two of a kind, with a special space frame, etc., etc. So, you know, that's why I've lost interest in it, and that's why I don't particularly care. But by the way, Toyota is made in this country. Most of the cars that we see on the road from Toyota anyway. But anyway, those are my thoughts, and I was just wondering what you think about it. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
No, Sonny's perfectly, absolutely correct as far as, they most of these guys, the engines, the chassis, they're all the same. It's just the outside of the car, or some of the lines on the car, is what we call them, maybe different from Toyota, Ford, but under the hood, they're all the same.
It's just the body, right?
Yeah. I mean, there may be a little bit differences, and this team may do this or this team may do that. But I do understand. It used to be stock car racing, and it's not stock car racing anymore. It's NASCAR racing now. It's the rules have changed, the criteria have changed, the aerodynamics have changed, everything has changed. And and then on some of the super speedways like Talladega and Daytona and stuff, they are running restrictor plates. And I do understand to a certain point, why they do that, and it's all has to do with safety.
And you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Matt.
Yeah, good morning. I'd like to call back and make a comment about racing and the foreign intrusion into American racing. Talking about the Indianapolis 500, you have about 2/3 foreign drivers involved in that race every year. And I can go back to when there was never a foreign driver in the Indianapolis 500. And I think the first ones that came over were from England. That was Dan Gurney and Graham Hill, and that was back in the 60s. But ever since then, it's been a slow intrusion of foreign drivers into the American racing scene, which I have no complaints about. But it's just interesting how that has changed. Where NASCAR basically doesn't have a lot of foreign drivers, but IndyCar races are, I would say, almost 2/3.
Yeah, and and Larry touched on that, and he called it the Great American Race. And it's funny how, like, with the IndyCar drivers, how that's evolved, and I look at it as something that's evolved, and the Indy racing, it's worldwide. They may race in the United States, they may be racing over in Spain, they could be racing in Germany, and so therefore that kind of opened up the door for getting some of the best. I look at it as getting some of the best race car drivers in the world competing in the Indy cars, and it's like, and then in the NASCAR, it's like these are the best drivers in our country, which in a sense are the best drivers in the world themselves too. But it's just a different. It's a different culture. It's to me, it's two completely different races. It's two completely different events. It's even two completely different sports. This is this sport, and NASCAR has tried to keep the Ford and the Chevrolet and the Pontiacs and the Dodges and the Toyotas. They kind of try to make them look like cars that are out there on the road, but it's all interesting, and the guys that put all this stuff on are way smarter than I am, and especially with NASCAR, it's turned into a billion dollar industry. It's
amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
The book that I was referring to earlier is called The Ghosts of NASCAR, and I quickly asked Robin if we still had it, because sometimes we give them away, sometimes we don't. It hasn't even arrived yet, even though we did the interview already. That happens sometimes. So when it does, we'll put it aside so that you can have it. And if I could just read the opening part of what it says on the Amazon listing. It says, who won the first Daytona 500? Fans still debate whether it was Midwestern champion Johnny Beauchamp, which I think he pronounced it differently, the author. He knew the guy. He knew the family. Declared the victor at the finish line, or longtime NASCAR driver Lee Petty declared the official winner a few days after the race. Apparently the guy got to take the prize and got on all the shows to talk about winning, and then somebody said, no, Lee Petty won. And he's trying to make a point in his book that there was a whole lap that he didn't do. And he's, I guess, convincing people because he's got 5-star reviews on here. So I guess he's doing a good job. All right, let's go to the phone. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with Matt.
Hi, Matt. This is Sonny again. The one race that still sticks out is basically independent is Formula One. And the other one is the 24-hour at Le Mans, and how that was dominated by all the Europeans until Ford showed up with the GT40, as far as I know. And then, these cars were built differently. Some of them had mid-engine, some of them were rear-engine drive, some of them have diesel engines, some of them are V12, V16s, all the way back to four-cylinder engines. I.e., back in the 60s, I can still remember Bettenhausen running a car. I believe that was an Indy-type car, but it had a Offenhauser engine, which was a four-cylinder. and it still won races. That was one of the older engines that were still being manufactured for the races. And today it's name only. It's so regulated and so restricted that I don't know how anybody bothers with the NASCAR now, or even now the United States Sports Car Association. But you see more variety of vehicles and everything else, and they have the different classes now. There's A, B, and C. And sometimes I wonder some of the lower class vehicles, they're so slow compared to the A classes that it might be a safety factor. But that's, I don't know, I just can't, it's to the point now that you give up even thinking about it. I think the last great Formula One driver we had was, we just had a skiing accident, Michael Schumacher. And, they used to have these same guys year after year, Ferrari's going to win it again. Ferrari, now it's, even that's starting to change. But anyway, I was just wondering what you think about also the different classes, like the 24 hours of Daytona for the 24-hour Le Mans, and then there's the Watkins Glen and these, race road tracks. And I was just wondering what you think about those. I'll hang up and listen.
Well, I used to not like the road courses for NASCAR especially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just like, that's not really NASCAR. But in the last couple of years, I just really was watching them and I really enjoy watching these guys perform at the speeds that they go and do the thing, that the talent that they have driving a car. It's just, these guys are amazing. I had the privilege of going 24 laps at Daytona International Speedway.
How fast?
They let me go to about 175.
Oh, wow.
And
see, I get nervous at 85.
And it's an experience that you can't you can't describe. It's something that you just it was really cool. And I remember that we did 3 8-lap increments with an instructor. And I was in the car by myself, and the instructor was in the car in front of me. And I remember on the second segment, I remember when we hit speeds above 150, how it changed the dynamics of the car. The car actually changed.
Wow.
And I remember going into turn 1, and I was thinking to myself, how awesome is this? How incredible are these guys that there's 43 other cars bumper to bumper.
Oh, I know.
Door to door.
That's the part. Well, that is amazing.
That it is absolutely amazing. And when you watch it on TV, it just doesn't do it justice. Just go to a race and see what these guys are capable of doing.
So 2 comments I want to tell you about talking about NASCAR. One, I forgot that I was part of the show. I was just listening. I was just enjoying listening to the show. I was listening to you and listening to the callers. The other thing is when I referenced working the commercials at the local level for doing it was an observation of mine. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed this, that the NASCAR, the Motor Racing Network, is so choreographed. It's so precision. I don't know how they do their broadcast. I mean, they must have like 6 or 7 guys and girls sometimes out on different places of the track, and they tell what's happening to Hill, and then the next guy starts talking. How do they know? I mean, do they have a clock? Okay, I'm talking up till now. Now you do there. It's just amazing. They're talking as fast as those cars are racing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
It is fun to listen to.
The 400. I was able to go as a representative of the source, WOCA.
Right.
And I have a headset that I can actually get the frequency of all the different drivers. And I can actually listen to the drivers talking with their crew chiefs and stuff like that. And typically that's what I'll do. I'll flop back 4 or 5 different channels, listen to different drivers. But what I did the last time was I focused in on the different announcers, and I got to, when we go to commercial break, how all these guys are. There's 20 guys talking about, okay, when we come back on the air, da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really cool how they worked the whole thing.
And you were able to hear it, huh? You got a special kind of headset or something?
Yeah, you have a headset, and you're just picking up all the different frequencies. You have to get that frequency,
Wow, that's
and you
cool.
dial it into your scanner, and you're able to hear what's going on behind the scenes during commercials.
2 hours. Even though I'm not really into sports in general, I find myself enjoying listening to it on the radio. It's weird. I enjoy it, especially NASCAR.
Right.
Yeah.
And then be able to listen to it while the song's being played or the advertisements being on, and how they're preparing for the next as soon as we get back on the air. It was really cool.
Can anybody get one?
Yeah. Yep. Sure can. If you ever want to go, I'll let you borrow mine. I got 2 of them. Are
you going to the 500? I know Tom is going from the afternoon show.
Yeah, I'm not a big 500 person. Yeah, I went for years.
So 100 miles is a big difference, huh?
No, it's not about the time. It's, to be honest with you, for me, it's about the. It's easier for me to go because I love to take my son, and it's easier. And this may sound crazy, but it's just easier for us to work with him to keep him out of the sun and a lot of physical things. It's easier to go to the night race than it is the day race.
Wow. That part I don't understand. All right. Well, I used to date a girl near the track, by the way, and you could hear him. That's how loud it is. Usually maybe, do you know where Nova Road is?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so on Nova Road, what's that, a mile maybe?
Yeah. Yep.
You could hear him.
Yep.
So. All right, we went way over because it was so enjoyable. Matt, what's your phone number?
My phone number is 352-690-1993.
All right, call us if you need Matt's number. Everybody here at WOCA brings his car or her car to Matt, and that includes me. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Larry.
Great show. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala. The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. We're in Florida. A nice day today with plenty of sunshine. The high 72 to 76. Tonight will be mainly clear with a low of 48 and a few inland spots, 56 along the coast. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sun and warm, high 75 to 79. For Wednesday, clouds and some sun with a chance for some thunderstorms in the afternoon, the high 76 to 80. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Phoenix Promotional Solutions, your company supplier of banners, digital decals, yard signs, and magnetic signs.